now tuned in to Hindsight Radio.
Peace to the gods. What's going on tonight? And we about to go live and direct, live in effect.
7 shows, 7 nights, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
On Hindsight Radio.
Monday,
Y'all listening to Hindsight Radio with your boy, Jonah Beck. What's going on?
Tuesday,
Peace to the God. It's True Tuesday with your host, Akeem L.
Wednesday,
And in case y'all didn't know it, you are listening to Hindsight Radio with your boy, Jonah Bay. And this is Consultation Wednesday. You know what I mean?
Thursday,
What's good? It's your boy. Yo.
Friday,
Open Mic Fridays with the folks Real Bay. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Saturday,
You're now listening to the Sleep Sheep Show, and I'm your host giving you the most uno self, a.k.a. the White Bay.
Sunday,
How y'all feeling tonight? God. Sitting in on the bottom line. I'm your host, Joey Bounce, L. Bay. Why not, right?
Hindsight Radio, the information station, changing the nation.
Good afternoon. This is Akeem L from Hindsight Radio. We do a radio station 7 days a week at 7 p.m. at Blog Talk Radio /Hindsight 2020. My personal website is AkeemL.com. I want to, when I say Akeem L, it's AKIEMEL. Today we're going to talk about third-party debt collectors under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. We are going to identify who they are because a lot of people don't really know who a third-party debt collector is. And some think they know, but they really don't know. And we're going to identify who they are. First, we're going to read some definitions right out of the Fair Debt Collections Act. Under definitions, Section 803, 15 U.S.C. 1692A, Section 803, definitions. The term consumer means any natural person obligated or allegedly obligated to pay any debt. The term creditor means any person who offers or extends credit creating a debt or to whom a debt is owed. But such term does not include any person to the extent that he receives an assignment or transfer of a debt in default solely for the purpose of facilitating collection of such debt for another. The term debt means an obligation or alleged obligation of a consumer to pay money arising out of a transaction in which the money, property, insurance, or services which are subject of the transaction are primarily for personal, family, or household purposes, whether or not such obligation has been reduced to judgment. 6. The term debt collector means any person who uses any instrumentality of interstate commerce or the mails in any business, the principal purpose of which is the collection of any debts, or who regularly collects or attempts to collect, directly or indirectly, debts owed or due or asserted to be owed or due another, notwithstanding the exclusion provided by Clause F of the last sentence of this paragraph. The term includes any creditor who, in the process of collecting his own debts, uses any name other than his own, which would indicate that a third person is collecting or attempting to collect such debts. For the purpose of Section 1692F6 of this title, such term also includes any person who uses any instrumentality of interstate commerce or the mails in any business, the principal purpose of which is the enforcement of security interests. And they have what it does not include, which most of this doesn't apply to most people. But you can read that later. Just do a search for the Fair Debt Collections Act, Practices Act. And I want to go to section 805. It says communication in connection with debt collections. And I'm just going to skip over. You can read all of this, and it's because it shows you what times they can call and what they can't call. It's just a summation of what you do. Ceasing communication. If a consumer notifies a debt collector in writing that the consumer refuses to pay a debt, or that the consumer wishes the debt collector to cease further communication with the consumer, the debt collector shall not communicate further with the consumer with respect to such debt, except to advise the consumer that the debt collector's further efforts are being terminated. And later I'm going to show you an example of that. To notify the consumer that the debt collector or creditor may invoke specified remedies which are ordinarily invoked by such debt collector or creditor, or, where applicable, to notify the consumer that the debt collector or creditor intends to invoke a specified remedy. If such notice from the consumer is made by mail, notification shall be complete upon receipt. So basically, you notify them in writing that you don't need to be bothered by this. And I just want you to let you know, do not pay a third-party debt collector, because it doesn't help your cause. It actually hurts you. So who's a third-party debt collector? Let me name off a few. If you own a home and your debt has been transferred to a servicer, third-party debt collector. You never signed a contract with a servicer to pay them any money. Most people, how do I pay my mortgage? You got to remember, they transfer it to the servicer. That's their business. Or they transfer it to another bank. You never signed. You only owe the original creditor that you signed that contract with. Now, because they want to sell your debt to someone else, they paid off the original debt, and now they're trying to make you liable for the debt with someone else. You have legal remedy for that. You can send them a third-party debt collector, which I do have. I'm going to show you a sample of it. And make them validate the debt and show you the original contract with your wedding signature, and which they can never do. Next, student loans, Navient, servicer, third-party debt collector. Anyone who is collecting a debt not in the name of the business you originally signed the contract is a third-party debt collector. Again, back to the house. Say you're behind on your mortgage payments. A lawyer contacts you, says he's about to foreclose. Third-party debt collector. Only the holder in due course, original creditor, can pursue his own debt. A judgment can only be entered by the person who is the original creditor. Only reason why people lose in court because they contract with the lawyer, the third-party debt collectors, and say they agree to pay this money, or they ignore the notices that they get. So, what do? But before I tell you what I do, let's go to validation of debt, section 809. If you dispute it, it says, if a consumer notifies the debt collector in writing within 30-day period described in subsection A of this section that the debt or any portion thereof is disputed, or that the consumer requests the name and address of the original creditor, the debt collector shall cease collection of the debt or any disputed portion thereof until the debt collector obtains verification of the debt or a copy of the judgment, or the name and address of the original creditor and a copy of such verification or judgment, or name and address of the original creditor is mailed to the consumer by debt collector. Collection activities and communications that do not otherwise violate this subchapter may continue during the 30-day period referred to in subsection A, unless the consumer has notified the debt collector in writing that the debt or a portion of the debt is disputed, or that the consumer requests the name and address of the original creditor. Any collection activities and communication during the 30-day period may not overshadow or be inconsistent with the disclosure of consumer's right to dispute the debt or request the name and address of the original creditor. Right. Admission of liability. The failure of a consumer to dispute the validity of a debt under this section may not be construed by any court or as an admission of liability by the consumer. Legal pleadings. A communication in the form of formal pleading in a civil action should not be treated as an initial communication for purpose of subsection A. It just tells you the do's and don'ts. So, what do I do when I deal with a third-party debt collector? I send them this letter right here. This is a sample of it. Notice of claim dispute. It's about 4 pages long. What I do is I find the fax number, I fax it to them, and I send it to them certified mail, return receipt. I send 3 mailings. I send the first notice. They don't respond properly. I send second notice. Opportunity to cure on it. I put it on second notice, opportunity to cure, and then my third notice is default. Usually every 30 days, or if they communicate back with me and it's not what I requested according to the letter that I sent to them, and it's like a vague answer, because that's what they'll do sometimes. And I'll put no contract on that letter, send it back. Remember, you're dealing with contract law. And I send the letter again until I get satisfaction. On the default, I'm setting them up for legal action where I can sue them. And here's a sample of what I got by sending that same letter. And they did exactly what the law says. They said they received my letter basically, and over here it says we have requested the account to be deleted from Consumer Reporting Agency files to which we may have submitted information. They were a third-party debt collector on behalf of Sprint. My business account, Sprint service didn't work for me very well. Canceled the account, and they tried to get extra money that I didn't owe them, and I had a dispute on the bill. They sent it to a collection agency, and I shut them down with this. So, and that's just one. I've got plenty of. One time I sent that letter, faxed it in within 24 hours. I got an alert saying they had deleted all of those files from my credit report. I have credit monitoring, so it alerted me that if there was a change. I looked, they deleted everything within 24 hours. That was the fastest I've ever got a response. But I still send a certified mail return receipt, because you want to do an administrative process, because when you go into a court of law, they want to see proof. And get your letter notarized. Put a jurat at the end of it and have it notarized. So do you have someone who verified your signature that you sent that letter? Just keep in mind, we lose because we don't have enough information, and we also lose because we don't respond fast enough. Like it said, you want to respond within 30 days. You don't agree with something, no contract. Red letters across. That's very powerful, putting that no contract on it. Make a copy of it. Keep a copy for yourself. Send that back, the original letter back, along with your third-party debt collector. You can find that letter at my website, AkeemL.com, AKIEMEL.com. And you can get that letter. It also has another part that I didn't show you, a no-contact contract, where I set them up, don't even contact me anymore, ever. And what's good about the third-party debt collector, not only tells them not to contact you, it also tells them not to transfer the debt to anyone else. So it binds them that they can't even sell that debt. So if someone else comes after you for that same debt and they transferred it, you have them in a legal lawsuit where you can go after them for some money. And they love to settle. So that's basically it. Thanks for listening. Remember, AkeemL.com. And our Blog Talk radio station is blogtalkradio.com/hindsight2020. Shows are every day, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk about a lot of topics. My next topic is going to be on child support, the unconstitutionality of it. And if you are in that child support contract, I'm going to talk briefly on how you can get yourself out of it. Any contract can be rescinded. Even if the judge, you can get out of it. No case is ever closed. And I can also show you how not to even get yourself in that. because child support is unconstitutional. All right. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to the next video. Have a good day.
Peace to the gods. You're listening to Hindsight Radio.